What's up, everybody? Welcome to Diamond Dallas Studios. I'm Paper Chase.
And it's the one and only Diamond Down One. We are back with another reaction just for you.
That's right. And today we are reacting to Merle, Haggard.
That's right.
What's the song title? It's way too
Are the
long.
good times really over? I had to bring it up. And then I wish a buck was still silver.
Yes. Okay.
I did
never
too,
heard of this.
man.
Yeah.
You know, they took us off the gold standard and everything's going downhill.
That is true. So what do you know about Merle Haggard?
I know he's a legend.
For real?
Yeah.
Never heard of him.
I know you haven't. That's why I brought it up. I've never heard this song. Full disclosure, neither has he, so we are going to dive in.
Let's just dive
right in. We really
in.
don't know a lot about country, if we're being completely honest, but that's why we're here.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
We're strapping in and strapping on.
Yeah, I'm a city boy, but, you know, I'm really...
City boys!
But I'm kind of feeling my country side come out, so...
Yeah. Have you ever seen City Slickers?
No.
No? The movie with Billy Crystal?
Don't even know who Billy Crystal is, man.
Dang. All right, let's get into it.
I wish a buck was still silver and it was back when the country was strong. Back before Elvis, before the Vietnam War came along. Before the Beatles and yesterday, when a man could still work and still would. It's the best of the free life behind us now. The good times really over for good. I wish Coke was still cola and a joint was a bad place to be. It was back before Nixon lied to us all on TV. Before microwave ovens, when a girl could still cook and still would. It's the best of the free life behind us now. The good times really over for good.
I'll let you go first.
Hey, I miss those times when a girl could still cook and still would.
Here's the thing. I feel like, when did this song come out?
I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe the 70s or 80s?
Because I feel like the 70s through the 90s were like maybe the peak of humanity.
So this is what's interesting to me, is that we live in this time where everything's like, it seems so, you know, intense. You know, it seems like it's the worst times ever. Things are escalating. At least there's a lot of people who think that way. They're looking at society and it's like, oh my God, what has happened to the good old days? And to me, this is a song, is a reminder that people are always looking back at the past as the good old days.
Yeah, 100%. You know, and I mean, I will say today, like, I'm a realist. Like, I understand, like, man, we live a very comfortable life. And like that, honestly, that leads a lot of people to like depression and stuff because they're just sitting around staring at their screens. They're not getting out living. You can't experience the light without living in a little dark, you know, like that's just the fact of life. Like the days, the nights that are the most relaxing and the best nights is the days after a brutally hard day of work, and you know, you're physically tired, you come home. Those are the best nights. And we've lost a lot of that in society nowadays, you know, and I was a victim of it for a while, especially like with my business that I have. Yeah, I don't have to do like anything physical at all. So, but it does sound like he's crying a little bit. It's just like, come on, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
We'll
get
see
the-
where
I
the
get the
song
song.
goes.
I get the song and I get the sentiment behind it, but also at the same time, it's like he's talking about like the he's probably what, the 40s, 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's living in, you know, the 60s, 70s, 80s. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know.
a time capsule because, you know, there's all these changes and upheavals, and, you know, he's talking about the good old days, but I think that every generation does that to a degree. You know,
Yeah,
where-
that's 100% true. Yeah.
yeah. So we'll see where the song goes. I'm interested to see if, what direction it goes, if it stays on this.
Okay.
I'll be rolling downhill like a snowball headed for hell. With no kind of chance for the flag or the Liberty Bell. I wish a Ford and a Chevy would still last 10 years like they should. Is that right? It's the best of the free life behind us now. Are the good times really over for good? Stop rolling downhill like a snowball headed for hell. Sing it with me. Stand up for the flag and let's all ring the Liberty Bell. Let's make a Ford and a Chevy that would still last 10 years like they should. Cause the best of the free life is still yet to come. The good times ain't over for good.
I mean, my neighbor has a 76 Ford that's still running to this day. So it's just like some of the things he's saying, like, you know, like, I wish women would still cook. Like, for me, they did. They did up until like recently. You know, it's,
Do they though?
nowadays they don't as much. I mean, some do. I mean, you know.
Is this this is the theme song for Make America Great Again? I kind of feel what he's saying to a degree. I mean, there was a time in America where you could raise a family with a single person working.
Yeah. Back then.
Yeah. And so it's like there is something that we have lost. I mean, you know, that's a reality. And you think about, you know, these, you know, when American manufacturing was here and, you know, people had those jobs. I mean, there's so many places like from Detroit to, you know, Philly, all those jobs got shipped overseas and those economies completely tanked and, you know, drug use filled the void. And so I understand what you're saying because I'm split, right? Because there's a part of me that feels like we live in the greatest time ever. If you really think about it, like the opportunities, you know, the fact that we can get on the internet and talk to people all over the world and make a little money doing it, like these possibilities did not exist. So when you think about like, you know, a kid or a person, like there's all these people on social media. One of the things I love doing is just like looking at different YouTube pages. And there's people that are just like, you know, they have a passion for watches or cars or you name it, some obscure thing. Like some, you know, I just found this YouTube page and some kid who is just like, I want to live off the grid. He's like in his 20s and just decided he was going to buy a property in New Mexico and just started like, you know, building shit, got a chicken coop and, you know, he's just roughing it.
Yeah.
But he's got like all these followers and he's like probably making like pretty good money and is, you know, able to, you know, go on this adventure. And I'm like, dude, that didn't exist. There is something amazing about that.
Yeah, you know, that's the thing about society, right? Like, I mean, obviously, we all know the wealth disparity nowadays is absolutely insane. You know, back in those times, you know, there were mom and dads who were selling freaking, they had belt stores, you know, and like then Walmart comes along and now all these mom and pop shops are destroyed and businesses are crumbling and everything's so industrialized, and so Amazon and all
Yeah.
these things, and the wealth disparity is crazy. And like, yeah, you're bringing up the other side of it. If there's so many different ways than there was
Yeah.
before to make income, but there's also has been limited in a huge way.
Yes.
It's like, unless you're working for one of these major companies and you're a cog in the machine, and if you are, you're not able to have a house, you're not able to raise a family, you're probably not even able to enjoy life at all. Like, you're paying your bills,
Yeah.
and
that's what this song to me is pointing towards. It's like that there are certain things that have dissolved, and like he's talking about pride in the US, and I feel like this generation is losing that.
Yeah, I
to a
know.
high degree, and it's scary because that's what I was kind of getting at, is like, you don't realize how good you've got it until it's gone. It's and it can happen. Like, people think it can't happen. You start losing pride in your country, respect for your fellow man, stop, holding on to those things that are deemed conservative and trying to preserve some of that, patriotism and love, for the way things used to be. And one day you wake up and you're like, oh shit,
Yeah, I agree completely with all that. And I do think this song is definitely like, it's way ahead of its time. And I understand, everybody, like, he didn't fucking know where the world was headed.
Yeah.
He's talking about his experience and what they're feeling in that time. But it's like, it almost just rings so much more true today, in my opinion. And like you said about the whole patriotism thing, yeah, I mean, it's like, is there true American patriotism anymore? Like, it almost feels like either like you're so American patriotic that you've lost sense of what being, patriotic actually means, or you're like fucking anti-America, which is it's crazy. And I don't know, I just found, I mean, I think we've talked about this before, and I think I knew it, but I wasn't like sure. And I asked my daughter today, I was like, do you guys say the Pledge of Allegiance at school? Nope.
No.
She doesn't even know what it is.
No.
I'm like, that's just crazy to me. Like, that's how we started out every single day.
Yeah.
It meant something.
Yeah, I grew up in a household. I've shared this before. My dad is like anti-government. He just is not. Yeah. So I did not grow up patriotic. It's dangerous territory though, because I had this experience when I went into my son's like middle school. We sent him to an international school, right? And the idea was like, oh, cool, he's going to learn a different language. They had like trips where they would do like these trips, like, overseas, you could opt into that. So, learning about other cultures, learning different languages, like, yeah, that's a good thing. Right. But I distinctly remember I'm going into his middle school and I'm walking around and you have all these flags there. There's, Palestinian flag. There's, an Israeli flag. There's a Brazilian flag. There's all these flags. I did not see one American flag. There's trans flags. There's Black Lives Matters flags. There's, pride flags, right? So they're representing all of that, but I didn't see an American flag. So then I'm like, let me start walking around. I don't see one. But then finally I'm like, oh, there we go. There's like a, map of the USA. So I go to walk up to it and it says, there can be no justice on stolen land. And I'm like, okay, so is this what we're teaching our kids? Like, I'm somebody who, grew up like not patriotic in a not patriotic household, but I also recognize that there's like a balance, right? And that there is, something that needs to be preserved, right? And it's scary. I mean, it literally to me was like frightening to see that, because I'm like, look, for all the injustices and whatever you want to say that happened in America, there's like beautiful, wonderful things that we've created as well. And the idea that we're raising a generation who's only seeing the negative consequences, going to a school where there's no flag, where there's no Pledge of Allegiance, like, that's what this song is talking about to a degree. In my opinion, it's talking about like, where have the good times gone? Are we losing sight of that?
100%, and so, my daughter's mom is Native American, and she obviously has her opinions on that and stuff, and they're justified. And, You know, and I think like she's a pretty grounded person. Like
Yeah.
she understands the reality of stuff, and she has her little moments where she,
Yeah.
you know, she says things, you know, anti whatever, but you know, I had to like basically like teach my kid to be proud to be an American. She didn't even understand what that meant at all.
Mhm.
And I think it's just super important, you know, like I've never been like a gung ho patriotic red, white, and blue to the day I die type of thing. Like that's never been part of my identity, you know,
Mhm.
like I've always have been very open to other cultures and, you know, respectful of that stuff. But like now that I've seen it go the opposite way, like the patriot's coming out in me
Me
even
too,
more,
because
you
I
know?
look at it and I'm like, I take it for granted. It's easy to be like, oh, the US is, so fucked up. It's got this history of, oppressing, Indians and all of this, right? I understand that. I understand that belief. I'm 20% indigenous. You wouldn't be able to tell it, but it's like my father's Mexican, like, yeah, we have like Indian blood. So we have the right to say that though, because of American tradition, because of the First Amendment. And that's what gets interesting is like you look around the world and that's like what we take for granted. So all the people that are talking about how bad America is and how terrible it is and no kings protesting because we can't have dictators. It's like, you don't know what a real dictator is. The fact that you can go out on the streets and have that protest is proof that you don't live in that society that you think you live in. Go do that shit in Iran and see what it's like. Go do it in North Korea. Go do it in China, and then you'll figure out what a real dictatorship looks like. So, and again, it's like I understand that people have these, emotional connections because there's a history of it, and that's what's unfortunate about humanity, right? And that's where I am like, clear on like, dude, we all have done fucked up shit. It's like every society throughout history. Like if you look at, the history of the natives, the Indians, like the Comanches and the Apaches, like what they did to other tribes was some of the darkest shit that you will ever, read about. Like, I don't know if you've ever like looked into any of that history, but they would do shit like they would capture a tribe and like hack off their like arms and like legs and toss them in the fire and just laugh at them.
I've read about some fucked up shit, and I mean, think about it through all out of history. Like for so long in history, that's kind of, I mean, it's pretty common theme. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of cultures that didn't participate in it, but it was like conquering and taking more land. Like it wasn't just, Europeans. It was Asian cultures did it. Like so many cultures participated in that.
Yes.
I mean, you got it's
human beings are fucked up.
Human beings are fucked up, and sure, I completely get it and I understand. Like I said, my daughter's, has a huge native culture. Like her whole family on that side is native. And I understand exactly where they're coming from and why the anger, goes generation through generation. I totally get it. But at the same time, I mean, there is something about being in this country where we live nowadays that there's so much to still love about America.
Yeah, that's where the core ideal of like having the freedom of speech to say these things freely on the internet is like something that I think is just such a beautiful thing that we have no concept how unique that is in human history because we grew up with it and we take it for granted. But if you look around the world, like in the UK, like people are getting sent to jail for memes, for Facebook posts, for saying
I know
a politician's fat, I think that happened in Germany. So it's like, you can have pride in that and say like, we should be proud that we've preserved the freedom of speech, that we've preserved these freedoms, even though there's a history of other things as well. It's like, yeah, you could lose that. And then one day you'll be waking up like, damn, remember the good old days, the good times.
It is the last thing I say about it because, I know we always get off track on these videos, so I hope you guys
Today
are like,
we've really been doing it.
I hope you guys are down to listen to some of this stuff, but like we talk a lot about the division of the right and the left, and me and you both kind of like we I mean I don't know about you specifically, but I know I don't take sides at all. But what I've noticed is like obviously there's fucked up racist bigots, pieces of shit who have so much hate in their hearts on the right side, and then the left side it kind of seems like if you're on the left side now, like you're like, fuck it, fuck the right. You know what I mean? And I've always leaned more towards conservative ideology when it comes to like government issues. But like, I respect everybody. I love everybody. I think if you're gay, you're gay. I think if you're whatever, like, and a lot of my moral compass leans towards the left side. But I have noticed, like, when it comes to like a lot of this shit that's going on recently, like the left is so brazen about their opinions. Like today, literally this morning, I dropped my kid off at school, and the car, and I drop her off early so she can get breakfast, and I pull up, and the car in front of me has fuck ICE in the things on the back, fuck ICE on the side, fuck ICE on the side. Literally not even just like protesting something, like literally vulgar words, pulling up to an elementary school.
So, yeah, just to put a bow on this conversation and wrap it up, land the plane, whatever. I understand what some of the complaints on the left are. Like, I get it. I came from that background. I understand it well. I'm also a pragmatist, and this is the reality. There's a huge section of, people on the left, the far left, who really do want to bring down the U.S. government. That's their goal. They do not want the U.S. government. They hate Americans. They think it's a corrupt nation, which in a lot of ways it has become corrupt. Our politicians are totally
100%.
corrupt, right? But their overall goal is they think that there's a better system beyond this, and they want to bring it down. And my issue is like, that doesn't usually work out great. And so, just from the sheer fact of looking at history and like how rare it is to actually have freedom, it's like, I would agree with 90% of what you're saying. Yeah, the politicians are corrupt. There's a lot of injustice. We could go down the line, right? But then at the end of the day, I could still be like, hey, I still don't think it's a good idea to rip it all down and try to build it from scratch, because I got kids.
Yeah, that's
you got a kid. I don't want to grow up in a world where we're like, fighting to try and see who's taking control of the government. No, thank you.
Well, especially since, which you know who's in office. I don't even know if we should like say names on this channel, but we know our office is conservative right now. And it's like you said, the left is like burn it all down, bring the government down, destroy everything, and everybody on the right is evil. And then the right side is like, no, we're just going to keep supporting this government that we know's corrupt. And it's like, everybody, we could take a break and like admit, okay, one side is completely overreacting, and the other side, you can admit that you were completely wrong about who's in office and what's going on. Like, there is a middle ground to be found here, but now it's so.
And I think there's way more people in the middle, because I see a lot of people on the right that are in agreement. They're like, hey, our government is corrupt. We are sending resources to places that we shouldn't be. Our politicians don't represent us. And that's where I think like a lot of this stuff is actually, this culture war stuff is actually manufactured and promoted. And, they put gasoline on these subjects. They're like, oh, let's get them fighting about the trans issue, instead of, worried about, the politicians and the corruption. Let's have them fight about this or that, which I understand that these things are still important to a lot of people, and there are important conversations inside of those. But as long as we're concerned about like ICE and, whether or not, that they're doing a good job, because I think that's a whole deeper discussion. But
yeah, that's all. And and I'm not saying that I'm supporting ICE when I say that, but like pulling up to a school with vulgar words on
this is what I'm getting at, is like, that we can focus on this issue, right? And instead of having the nuanced conversation about like, hey, what do you think is genuine immigration policy that makes sense? Let's just promote the most extreme views on both sides. And then, we'll never focus on actually getting anything done.
Absolutely. We can. I think we can wrap the conversation up with that. We could probably sit here. We could probably sit here for an hour and talk about this. And hey, if you guys made it this far, you're a real one. You have to subscribe now. You're part of the family.
Yeah.
Whether you agree with us or disagree with us, that's a beautiful thing about this channel and us, is we're open to conversation. We will not judge you if your opinion is different than ours. Like, we don't have hate in our hearts for anybody. And that's what everybody needs to get back to, is it's okay to disagree. Me and him disagree on policies and things all the time, and we are able to talk and discuss it, and that's how humans should get back to that and not have hate in their heart for somebody just because they have a different fucking opinion.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
We'll see you on the next one. Peace. You're off on that one.